I'm going to discuss a little bit about edge computing, and then I'm going to show a demonstration of Edge Application Manager. The first thing that may come to mind is, what is edge computing? Edge computing is computing that is done at or near the source of the data. Here on the screen, you'll see that I've included a simple architecture of edge computing. You'll see at the bottom that we have billions of IoT objects, and those communicate with millions of edge devices, which can then store the data in the cloud or at a local data center. So a good way to look at this is that we're essentially bringing the cloud closer to us. One of the benefits to using this type of technology is the faster response time, and that's due to the data not having to travel as far as it would in a traditional cloud architecture. Another benefit is how secure the edge is. You know, the edge may not be immune to cyber attacks, but there is less of a risk that the data could be compromised during transit because the data is processed on a local device rather than transmitting it to a central data center. It's even projected that by 2025, that 75% of enterprise data will be processed at the edge. So now that we have some background around Edge, let's cover the setup required for Edge Application Manager. So first, it involves creating a ROX cluster. Then you'll want to install the IBM Common Services and the Edge Application Manager. And lastly is the post-install configuration and deployment. So now that we have a little bit of a background, I think we're ready to get into the demo. We'll shift here. So before we get into the demo, I'll be representing the admin for my local grocery store, and I'm looking to enhance the customer experience with the use of smart scales, which can detect the item being weighed and apply the right price with the use of a smart camera. So most likely, customers would be weighing fresh produce, or maybe dry goods. So here on the screen, you'll see we have the Edge Management Console. So if we scroll down here, you'll see that we have one node, and that is called the Edge device. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. So we have some details here at the top that you'll notice. You'll see when we have the last heartbeat, the architecture, who the owner is, the organization, just a little bit of details. But what we're going to look at right now is the node properties, which if you scroll down, you'll see it here. And you'll see that each of the variables start with open horizon. So all of them here, you'll see I'm hovering over this now. It all starts with open horizon. So the Edge devices are built on the open source Horizon software generated by the agent that runs on the Edge device. So in order to switch the node properties to our smart scales, for example, we would need to unregister the device in the terminal and then define the node as smart scale. We'll also need to specify the node properties, which is done using a JSON file. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the terminal now. So I'll pull up first right here. And I'm just going to quickly CD to my Edge demo. And I can go ahead and unregister this. So I'm going to do Horizon unregister -F. So you'll see from the output here that it's unregistering the node and it's canceling all the agreements, and it's going to restart Horizon for me. So this does take a few seconds for that. So while this is happening, I'll let you know what we're going to do next. So the next part is we're going to define the node properties from the JSON file. And for the sake of time, I'll just show you what the output of the file will look like so you can see the new properties for the smart scale. So now that this part is completed, in the terminal, we're going to run the following command. So again, I'm going to go back to my Edge demo because that's the directory that I have it in, and go to smart scale. And then my JSON file I'm going to add here. And I will click enter. So here we can see the properties that I wish to add. So now that we've defined those properties, the nodes are now going to need to be registered. So in order to do this, I'm going to run this following command. So I'm going to go back to my Edge demo and go to Smart Scale, because that's the directory I wish to be in. And then I can go ahead and use Horizon to register it. And again, I'm just going to equal the policy to the JSON file that I had before. Okay, so now you'll see that it's updating now and it's adding those new variables. So it just finished here. So what we'll go ahead and do is we can go back to the Edge console and then take a look at the properties. So I'll refresh this quickly so you guys can see. And now you can see under properties that we still do have those open horizon ones from before, but now we also have those new smart scale properties that we just defined. So you'll see that the smart scale equals true. We have the location equals the fresh vegetables and the type. So as you can see, this process really wasn't too gruesome. So if the admin of, or the owner of the grocery store, wanted to bring in, like, let's just say smart shopping baskets, for example, then it wouldn't be too much of a hassle. So we're going to continue working with the smart scales, but now I want to touch on working with services. The services represent the software that's being deployed on the edge. So the services can be used to read the shopping cart sensors or to communicate with the smart scale camera. So let's take a look at the services for the smart scale service. So if you scroll back up here and go over here in the left corner, we'll click back on nodes. And then you'll see across this bar, we have different things that we can select, and I'm just going to select services. So from here, there's some of the services that are auto-populated here. So you can either type in the search bar which one you're looking for, or you could just scroll down and try to find it. So in my case, I know that I'm looking for the smart scale service. So I'll go ahead and select that. So we're going to scroll down, and we'll see that we have some of the properties already listed here. Some of them are the open horizon ones that are auto-generated. And then we'll scroll down and we have the deployment policies. So typically here you would already see a deployment policy in place. And the policies are essentially like additional rules for the deployment of services to the devices. So as you can see here, there are no deployment policies listed. So in order to find out why, we're going to go ahead and go into the terminal and just run a command to find out why that may be the case. So we have this open here and go back to my Edge demo. And I'm going to run a Horizon deploy check for my policy. Which would be the smart scale. So here we can see from the output that it says that neither node ID nor node policy is specified. So we would need to go ahead and specify that. So we're going to go back into the management console here. And we're going to go ahead and create a deployment policy for the smart scale service by selecting this button right here, create deployment policy. So we'll go ahead and add a name. So in this case, I will just do smart scale -B1 deployment policy. And you can do whatever, it doesn't make a difference. But this helps easily define since it's already smart scale. So then for the description, I'm just going to do deploy services to the edge device. And that's all that I need here. So you'll scroll up when you're ready to hit next, up here on the right. And then what we need to do is I am going to do, for the node property, I'm going to do smart scale is equal to, and I'm going to type true for the value. That way the system knows which devices we want to target. So now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and click next. For the advanced settings, there's nothing that we need to add here, so we can go ahead and click next again. And this all looks right here. So this is the information I just entered. So we can go ahead and click deploy service. So now we have our new policy here. And if we want to go see if that policy is now under our smart scale service, we'll go ahead and click policies here in the top left. We'll go back to services where we were before. And again, I'm going to scroll down to the smart scale service. So again, we have the properties like you saw before, and voila, we have our new deployment policy here. So what I really liked about this demo was that the admin of the grocery store could use this technology in other grocery stores, if or when, they were ready to expand, or maybe they wanted to get into a different kind of business, and they could easily use this technology elsewhere. Thank you so much for watching.